I have to save the Royals, but I only have 5 seasons to do it, and this roster is a complete dumpster fire. We're on a huge time crunch, so developing our young talent and signing the right free agents is crucial. Year 1 was all about figuring out what we had, and it was hard not to be excited about young pieces like Vinny P and Bobby Witt Jr. However, while I was doubting if aging veteran Salvador Perez could still produce at catcher, he ended up being one of the biggest surprises, putting up another quality year right off the bat. There were a lot of bright spots in year 1, but still a lot of work to do to become contenders within 5 years. We needed starting pitchers and to add some power to our lineup. Free agency was crucial, and I brought in 4 guys who should bring up our win total. I was banking on the upside of Jack Flaherty as our new ace, and thankfully for us, it looked like the right move. The team was far from complete, but guys like Ian Happ and Garrett Cooper proved to be upgrades at the plate. However, we still needed another quality starter at the deadline, and I was willing to bank on Casey Mize bouncing back from a bad year at the cost of our starting third baseman. This forced me to sell high on a breakout year from Drew Waters for a new starter at the hot corner, along with a dependable relief option. These were the only 2 major trades I had made, but they helped us surge out of the All-Star break, and we were only 9 games under 500. To my surprise, our new third baseman was absolutely raking and made me feel good about our trade deadline deals. We didn't make the playoffs in season 2, but Salvi is still mashing, our young talent is improving, and we were just getting started. It was time to make a jump for the playoffs, and I felt our biggest need was an elite reliever. This led to an aggressive trade for Johan Duran to be our new closer. Then this became our biggest free agency yet, as Christian Arroyo, Cody Bellinger, and Alex Verdugo all became crucial pieces. It was opening day against Seattle, and our offense was ready for the test against George Kirby. I couldn't pass on the chance to add Alex Verdugo in free agency, and he loaded the bases on his first at-bat. Then another new addition had a chance to come up big, but Cody Bellinger flew out at the track. It's never fun to leave guys on base, but it was year 2 of Jack Flaherty, and he showed no signs of slowing down. Bobby Witt Jr. had been a dependable leadoff guy, but we desperately needed him to emerge into an all-star as he rocketed a 3rd inning double. Then Ian Happ had the chance to get us on the board, and this looked like either a foul or a flyout, but the ball kept carrying over the fence, and we were suddenly up 2-0. We were looking to start a rally as Salvador Perez was back for season 3 and loaded the bases with a single, but for the second time this game, we left the bases loaded as Pavin Smith grounded into a double play. It remained 2-0 through the 6th inning, but Smith was looking for redemption, watching this ball fly for our first no-doubter of the season. We struggled to drive in runs today, but Alex Verdugo delivered the dagger in the top of the 9th, and we won our first game despite only scoring 4 runs on 14 hits. Our lineup improvements were paying off early on as we tied a game with the Tigers in the 9th. Unfortunately, we couldn't answer in the 12th inning and lost to the worst team in our division. So far, however, Bobby Witt Jr. was off to the scorching hot start we needed from him. We were 20-18, facing off the division-leading Guardians. Ian Happ got us aboard on our second at-bat of the game, and Vinny P followed right after to get 2 on. Then Garrett Cooper came up with the bases loaded, and all he needed was a sacrifice fly to get us on the board. It remained 1-0 in the top of the 3rd, but Lawler made a big mistake, leaving a breaking ball over the plate for Bobby Baseball, and his power did the rest. Then, just 1 inning later, Bobby went for 2, absolutely launching this no-doubter to make it 3-0. However, we were having trouble closing this game out as Casey Mize gave up 2 runs to cut our lead to just 1. But it was time for another new addition to come up big as Christian Arroyo hit our 3rd home run of the game. Our bats came alive after this as Happ smoked an RBI double, and we put our division on notice. This series win gave us momentum into the series against Chicago as we were battling in the top of the 10th. We took the lead with a Bobby Witt single, but Salvi wanted to bury them as we were battling in our tough division. Both guys who helped us win that game were huge reasons we had a winning record, and Bobby Witt had especially broken out as one of the league's best power and speed threats. However, he wasn't the only one in the lineup with pop as Happ pulled this pitch the other way and watched it soar over the wall as we started this game with back-to-back homers. MJ Melendez had emerged as a great platoon option versus lefties, and he smacked a double to right field in the 4th as this game went back and forth into the top of the 9th where Freeman singled. Down 1, we needed a clutch moment, and thankfully it was Bobby Witt's year to deliver as he drove this pitch into the right center gap to tie it up. This game went to extras where Melendez continued his great game with another double to take the lead. Then Duran proved to be a great acquisition, helping us close this one out. Despite this brilliant win, our 56-49 record was only good enough for 4th place in the AL Central. We were down 1 against the Twins, and Ian Happ knew he desperately needed this win, watching this walk-off no-doubter. He had absolutely raked this season, and it was no surprise to see him deliver the clutchest moment of the entire season. This felt like a moment that could turn our entire season around, especially if our bats stayed as productive as they had been. However, we ultimately missed our chance to gain ground in our division, and we were a month away from missing the playoffs yet again. Every game against our division was crucial, and we were looking for a late season rally rally. With runners at the corners, I thought this was our chance to get runs on the board, but Vinny P couldn't get it to drop. We were down 2-0 in the 8th against Dylan Cease, and a Luis Gonzalez pinch hit home run broke the shutout. Down to our last 3 outs, Vinny Pasquantino wanted to start a rally, slapping a single up the middle. Garrett Cooper was having a solid year as a middle of the order bat, and he got aboard as the winning run. Then we were able to come through to tie it with the bases loaded. We couldn't score the game-winning run in the 9th, but Hap completed the comeback in extras with a weak single. We managed a surge in September, putting it all together, and we're in a 3-way tie for second in the Central and the first wild card with 10 games to go. Our team had finally put everything together, but we needed a strong finish to make the playoffs. Bobby Witt was leading the MLB in batting average, and it was even more impressive to watch him hit nukes. We were looking to cushion our lead, and MJ Melendez did just that with his 8th inning blast, and we would win this one to secure a spot in the playoffs. It was a miracle we were here at all, and we could lock down the first wild card spot with a win in our last game of the regular season. Big games always end up in extra innings on this channel, and we were trying to walk it off, but couldn't score the runner from second. Bellinger could come up big with runners at the corners, but the first baseman made a great play to turn a very rare 3-2 double play. Thankfully though, our bullpen came in clutch in the 11th, and how fitting was it that our best player would be the one to end the last game of the regular season and secure us the first wild card spot. Despite the slow start, this team absolutely deserves to be here, as Jack Flaherty placed second in Cy Young voting, and Bobby Witt Jr. won a batting title. We were up against the White Sox in the wild card, and we had Flaherty on the mound. The game remained scoreless until Chicago hit a 2-run homer, and it was 6-2 in the 8th. We needed a spark, and Bobby Witt Jr. gave us that and then some, turning on the high fastball and putting a dent into their lead. Down to our last 3 outs, Christian Arroyo got 2 aboard with a single, and we'd call Bobby baseball's number one more time as his deep double cleared the bases and tied it up. The comeback was impressive, but we were looking for a walk-off win, and Vinny P would not be denied. Bobby Witt Jr.'s heroics gave us game 1. However, I was scared of Dylan Cease, and we had no answer to him through 5 innings. Overcoming Cease would allow us to move on to the next round, so Vinny P absolutely destroyed his ankle for an infield single. That proved to be the turning point of the game for KC, and Verdugo got us on the board, watching it go over the wall for a 2-run shot, and our bullpen held on to advance us to the ALDS. Casey Mize had emerged as a quality number 3 starter for us, but things were looking rough early. We were completely blanked by Cy Young winner Corbin Burns, but finally managed a base hit in the 8th. Cody Bellinger needed to come up big here, and he really got a hold of this one, looking to tie the game, carrying all the way back to the wall, but it was caught. You can't win them all, and we ran out of chances, and we're down 1-0 in the series. While Burns dominated in game 1, Christian Javier was a different story, as we had loaded the bases early. With just 1 out, we needed a sacrifice fly to get on the board, but Javier continued loading the bases, and Salvi wanted to get back to the World Series, helping us get even. I can't believe that Pavin Smith turned into a success story for us, as he helped us break through Garcia in game 3. Then down 2, Witt would slap a weak single up the middle, which was just enough to score Smith and help get us on the board. Houston would respond with a run, but it was finally Cody Bellinger's time to shine, driving this one to deep right field, and he finally did it. It was a tie game, but we weren't done in the 7th inning. Massey with a drive into a board, and our 5 unanswered runs helped us take our first series lead. 2 straight victories gave us the opportunity to advance to the Champions Series, and it looked like our bats had caught fire as Bobby Witt scored our first run. Vinny P had been in Witt's shadow this season, but this blooping RBI is a reminder that he was very important to this playoff run. With 2 on in the 7th, Flaherty struck out Altuve, and we moved on to the ALCS. The Rays were our next opponent. They had a talented young team, and we all know Wander Franco likes that. However, it was 36-year-old Freddie Freeman who set off the first fireworks of the series on this 3-run blast. Then our own dinosaur Salvi Perez decided that we wouldn't go down without a fight. I considered trading him all rebuild, but I was so glad that I didn't. This game was neck and neck, and Cody Bellinger delivered another clutch play to get into scoring position. Bobby Witt Jr. was up, and as you could have guessed, he was the guy to tie the game up. Game 1 went to extra innings, but Garrett Cooper decided to make it interesting in the 11th with a deep line drive to left field to clear the fence and steal us game 1. The nerves were at an all-time high for the Rays in game 2, and they made a costly error on what should have been a double play, and we took the lead. Even worse, we had a runner in scoring position, and Garrett Cooper continued to be their worst nightmare. That error really awoke something in our offense as we turned a 1-1 tie into a hitting clinic, taking game 2 with ease. At this point, the Rays were absolutely broken, and we proceeded to secure the sweep, winning the whole American League. This was it. A team that wasn't even supposed to make the playoffs would play for the World Series in one of the greatest underdog stories ever. But you might be wondering, how is this an underdog story if we surge through the playoffs? And the answer is because none of the teams we had played could possibly compare to the team we're about to face off against, the Dodgers. Through this franchise, they've kept Mookie Betts and Will Smith while acquiring Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Elly De La Cruz, and many more key pieces. This could be the hardest final boss ever created, and I was feeling very unconfident against Ohtani. But then something unexpected happened that gave me hope. This 36-year-old catcher was putting everything on the line for his team, trying so hard to win his second ring, and somehow, someway, we took game number 1. This was feeling like the ultimate David and Goliath story, and our surge continued in game 2 as our bats were red hot and our rotation was untouchable. We were on top of the world after a 2-0 start, but then the Dodgers woke up in game 3. Normally that type of loss would kill our momentum, but this was a new Royals team. They had heart and they knew they couldn't afford to lose 2 in a row against this God squad, and they held nothing back, hitting 3 home runs to pull away to a 3-1 series lead. I couldn't believe that we were one way a win from a World Series title, but if one thing was for certain, Cody Bellinger really didn't want to lose to his former squad. Unfortunately though, our bats stalled out in game 5 and the Dodgers were fighting back. If there was any time to win, it was game 6 with Flaherty on the mound, and thankfully for us, we bullied Tony Gonsolin last time around, and we were looking to repeat history. And then, right on cue, the veteran, the player I almost traded, Salvador Perez, broke the tie with this no-doubter, and yes folks, that was the only run of the entire game. I took over a terrible Kansas City Royals roster and took them to the promised land in just 3 years. That was an absolute blast. Let me know who I should rebuild next.